Okay, this is the 2 by 2 inch Blue Butterfly Grab and Go Loom. You will notice that on all the Blue Butterfly Grab and Go looms, whatever the size, the lower left hand frame of reference corner is 1, the upper left hand corner is 3, the lower right hand corner is 2. In the upper right hand corner there is a single pin that will not be warped or woven. It is the tie-off pin. On the 2 by 2 it looks like there are 4 pins, but that 4th pin in the corner is the tie-off pin that will not be warped or woven. Okay, we will take our yarn, starting at 1 with the arrow which guides you. You put your yarn right next to the pins. There are 2 pins. You go around both of them behind. Come down to this 4th group of pins between 2 and 3. You tie your knot. You take your yarn, you go around behind 3 and 4, across the loom to the group of 3 pins, between 1 and 2, around behind 2 and 3, back down to the bottom of the loom to the group of 3 pins, between 1 and 2, behind 2 and 3, across to the top of the loom. You will use the 3 pins, between 1 and 2, behind 2 and 3, down to the bottom of 2, lower right hand corner, 2 pins, you go between them. Remember, upper right hand corner for your first warp, that 4th pin is actually the tie-off pin. You will not warp or weave it. Okay, turn the loom so that now 1 is in the upper left hand corner and 2 is in the lower right hand corner. You go around behind those 2 pins, across to the top of the loom between 1 and 2, around 2 and 3, down to the bottom of the loom between 1 and 2, around 2 and 3, to the top of the loom between 1 and 2, behind 2 and 3, down to the bottom between 1 and 2, around 2 and 3, and then 2 pins at the top. You go between them, turn your loom so that 1 is again in the lower left hand corner, 3 is in the upper left hand corner, and 2 is again in the lower right hand corner. Follow the arrow for 3, which goes between those 2 looms. Come down to the 4 pins where your tie-on knot tail is, between 1 and 2, behind 2 and 3, between 3 and 4, cross to the top of the loom. Yarn is on the outside of that 1 pin, go around 1 and 2, between 2 and 3, down to the bottom of the loom. Yarn is on the outside, around 1 and 2, between 2 and 3, back up to the top on the outside. The yarn is on the outside of pin 1, around pins 1 and 2, between 2 and 3, down to the bottom. There are 2 pins here. Your yarn will go right over 2. You are done warping the 2 by 2 inch Blue Butterfly Grab and Go loom. Warp 1, warp 2, warp 3. Now, you wrap your yarn around the outside of the pins. 1, 2, 3, and 4 is the usual standard wrap. Cut your yarn, thread your 5-inch weaving needle. You start to weave lower right hand corner where the 2 is. Bring your yarn around behind those 2 pins. Over, under is the pattern. Your first over is that bit of yarn. You just weave over, under all the way across. Turn your loom, hold your thumb with the yarns, prevent tangles. 3 pins outside of pin 1, around behind 1 and 2, between 2 and 3, over that first bit of yarn. Over, under, weave across. You come out on the outside of that first pin, around behind 1 and 2, between 2 and 3, over, under, over, under. Weave across, turn your loom, come out 3 pins, yarn on the outside of pin 1, around behind pins 1 and 2, between 2 and 3, over that first bit of yarn, under, over, over, under, so on all the way across. As you can see, the 2 by 2 inch loom goes really fast. You're on the outside of that first pin, around behind pins 1 and 2, between 2 and 3, over that first bit of yarn, under, over, under, so on all the way across. Now, final 2 pins. Around behind them, and there's a triangle. It's a little tight and small, but there is a triangle. Over the first bit of yarn, and then under, over, under, so on. Your first row that you wove and your last row that you weave will be right next to the pins. Now, here is the one pin that was not warped or woven. It's a tie-off pin. Your yarn is next to it. Bring your yarn around behind. The next pin, right next to it, little yarn hole there. Slip your needle down. Pull your needle off. And your 2 by 2 inch square woven on the blue butterfly grab and go loom is